amigo, welcome to my channel. Just enjoy watching, bro. Let's start.
Naruto Uzumaki laughed. She was sitting atop the Yondaime's head on the Hokage mountain, the sunrise just now erupting from the horizon, its rays alighting her chakra, giving her a golden glow. Scattered around her were many painting and rock climbing supplies she had stolen borrowed from many ninja and civilian stores, usually ones that had refused service to. Had upcharged her. In front of her was a long list of requests she needed to fulfill, and today was the last day she could. What a beautiful day it was. A perfect day to perform her greatest work yet. She made a sign and 50 clones popped up. She briefly checked her list and then, she had all of them henges different people on the list, such as those who she or Aneth. A vendetta against, whether it be civilians, academy teachers, and even some of the Anbu she's managed to find the real faces of. She assigned the academy teacher clone. Paint the Hokage mountain, the civilian clones to cause havoc at specific sites, and her Anbu clones to set up orange and pink glitter bombs in the Anbu headquarters. Enko would get home to see that one. She did say she'd try to make it back for her genin assignment. Caught up in the excitement of vandalism, however, she had almost forgotten that she had to be at the academy for team assignments soon. After pondering whether or not to go herself or send a clone, she decided to send 2 clones, one to attend class and one to check on the progress of an errand there, just in. On their way, they passed by a garden, belonging to a lady who had always liked to throw rotten tomatoes at her. She picked up a few fresh ones, scanning for the biggest. Give as an offering to someone for helping her cover for her last prank. The academy clone opened the door to the class and shouted out, "Guess who's one step closer to being Hokage?" This right, Naruto motherfucking Uzumaki. She took a jump and landed onto the desk in the middle row of class. Everyone groaned. Naruto smiled. Sayuri Uchiha didn't groan. She did yawn though, as she was shaken out of her delicate, sleeping while sitting up stance. All could be forgiven though because a fresh red tomato was held to her mouth and she bit into it. It's not like she had a family to tell her to stay away from the local menace, and Itachi never turned her away, but instead, in some cases, covered for her. And really, everyone knows not to bite the hand that feeds you, especially if they feed you a big red tomato. Anyways, today was team assignment. She wondered if she would get a team that would die like Itachi's, serving only to upgrade her Sharingan. She wondered if she still the ability to form bonds in this god-forsaken village. She wondered that if she came to an early death, would the village celebrate it like Itachi's or mourn the loss of their founding clan? Not even an Uchiha grunt for my efforts. Naru, what kind of people would you want on your team? The blonde made a show of tilting her head side to side with a finger held to her chin. She was sitting at the edge of the desk, rather than on the bench, swinging legs back and forth. Someone strong enough to be my rival and someone smart to be my friend. Maybe they could help me with my pra-erm traps. And then a super strong sensei to make us strong. She grinned, seemingly genuinely excited about teams. You know as Kunoichi, they expect us to be the heart of our teams. Do you think you'll get along enough with your team for that? The heart, the fool and the assassin team model, usually with 2 male ninja and a Kunoichi to serve as the heart, to bind their bonds together as a team. However, once brother had explained it to her, it was obvious this model plays on the effect of hormonal imbalances between child soldiers and assumes that the Kunoichi would be the emotionally intelligent and well-adjusted one to draw the other 2 members to her. Oh, that thing. I think I'd make a good heart, since there's nothing in here to break, haha, said so cheerily, yet her face was carefully blank. A worried look in he. Of course, even if they weren't the most emotionally intelligent, it was assumed that a Kunoichi could withstand the most conflict, without breaking. After all, there was on Rogue, S-ranked Kunoichi in all the history of the Leaf. Whatever. More of their fellow graduates started filtering into the classroom. Most of them glanced at her still, but had long since given up trying to get to her with greetings. For all rare sight to see an Uchiha willingly make conversation, let alone to the village outcast, non-existent was the sight of her returning even a greeting to the rest of them. It's like it was a detriment to her pride to simply accept goodwill and attention, but she didn't want to give off the impression that she was willing or able to build a bond with T. And only Naru understood that. Her usual attitude of take and take, but never give, her brother had approved of. However, some of the others thought her accepting there meant she was returning friendship. Hopefully her team would understand, or at least be smart enough to not take it personally that she couldn't reciprocate any of their kindness towards them. One tended to lose their ability to care for such fickle things as bonds after watching their family implode in real time. She was shaken out of her musings as she heard more bickering and shrill squeals. Ah, Ino and Sakura must have arrived. Ha, take that billboard brow. Hey, since I've beaten you, I guess that makes me the better ninja in this rivalry. As far as Sayuri knew, she'd thought Ino was purposefully provoking Sakura for her attention. Ah well, it wouldn't be a rivalry if you didn't give me a challenge. But let's not get it twisted, who knows what will happen once we get our teams. Sakura chirped playful, engaging Ino, but still in full control. Sayuri wondered what could have caused the two girls to fall out. Humph, whatever. With a signature hair flip, Ino, undeterred, tried to pile it on. I already know I'm stuck with losers, but at least it can't be worse. They'll probably stick with other civis. She shrugged. Sakura wasn't really bothered though. Hey, well, I don't really mind. It would be nice to be teamed with other kunoichi though, she lamented. And then Ino just had to open her mouth. OMG, imagine if you got on a team with Naruto.
Sayuri lamented the loss of a perfectly good tomato that had splattered against Ino. But she wasn't too mad, as it made for free entertaining drama. And, oh, it kinda rem her of how Azumi's head looked when Naruto, I'll fucking get you. Never mind, she was annoyed. Her peace and quiet was ruined. Huh, that's crazy. Why would I have tomatoes? I hate veggies. The blonde stared at her outstretched hand like it betrayed her. Which was rather odd since Naruto wasn't that openly vindictive. Must be an off day. Why you not like Adobe like you would understand the time and effort it takes to be presentable. And stay away from Seiyu-chan, while you're at it. No need to rub your reputation onto her. And not like Ino would understand what it takes to be a ninja. The privilege of clan kids these days honestly astounded her, but unlike them, her family Itachi taught her manners, the classic Uchiha stoicism, and how to keep her mouth shut. The blonde without complimentary red streaks hummed and then, nah, I don't think I will, and moved back onto her bench, right next to her. And yeah, I guess I wouldn't. Like a dumb kunoichi like me would ever understand, she said loudly, lips twitching into a wry smile that didn't reach her eyes again, but something dark flashed through H. eyes. Ino swung. She missed. And then, Uzumaki. Iruka burst through the door. What is the meaning of this? What do you mean, sensei? She tilted her head and asked coyly. The entire teacher's lounge is covered in glitter. Who else could that be, but you? But come on, sensei. I was here for the last 30 minutes at least. I haven't been at the academy in like a week, and classes have still been running, so it could. Maybe one of your students has it out for you. She cocked her head back and let out a sardonic laugh, eyes light and teasing. Sensei. Naruto's lying. I've been here since dawn and she just got here, even Seiyu-chan can confirm. Ino smiled a sweet, sugary smile. Huh, she must really be pissed. About the tomato. She hadn't planned on getting involved, but Ino just had to bring her into it. But Naruto's gaze was now directed straight back at Ino, her presence suffocating, her chakra leaking, and Sayuri was drowning. Actually, sensei. Ino's been with me this whole morning, and we just got here. Sakura, armed with her heavily saccharine voice that the academy teachers couldn't help be dote on, helpfully supplied. Sayuri let out a sigh, sat back and licked tomato off her fingers nonchalantly. Ino sat down in the row behind her with two other clan heirs. Teach. Yash. HN. The bell rang. Sakura sat down beside Naruto and smiled at her. Sayuri checked her eyes. Dead. That's how she disengaged Ino so effectively. She moved to be more alert, fingers interl against her forehead. That look indicated that a more dangerous foe had appeared. I'm really proud of all of you, for everything you guys have been through. However, it only gets worse from here, Iruka started off. Yeah, Now Konoha will chain us as slaves with these so-called bonds, and hollow out our insides, just like they did too. And with that I will now announce the teams. Now for the moment of reckoning. Team 7. Uzumaki Naruto, Uchiha Sayuri, Haruno Sakura. Oh ho, 3 kunoichi on a team. Sayuri was perplexed. Sakura kept her eyes down, face unreadable, so it looked like Naruto would ask instead. The blonde stood up. Hey, sensei, why does a prodigy kunoichi like me have to be put on a team with these bottom feeders? She made a whole show of growling and waving her hands about. Looking annoyed. Sayuri would count that slight against the blonde, but she still tasted the tomato from earlier. Especially 2 other girls instead of Shinobi, who could sup me, and PFF'd, as if she cared about such things, while looking up to 2 of the craziest kunoichi the Hidden Leaf had ever produced. She sounded irate, but her eyes were in all the attention the class had on her. Uruka snorted. You shouldn't throw around a word you don't understand, which is prodigious, not prodigy. And, for your information, Sayuri and Sakura were the number 1 and hash ninja of the year, respectively. You were last among the whole class. That being said, the Hokage hand-picked these teams. Of course he did. The Hokage's idea was proba. Throw the flight risks together, and hope they placated each other and threw in Sakura because surely she could handle it, with everything she'd been through. And if not, nothing of value was lost with the civilian born. It was just too easy to read into everything, really, once Itachi revealed many truths to her. Fucking last but, I still graduated, Naruto slammed back down in her seat. Guess, Hokage's not far off for me, even Gigi sees it. She scoffed, but Uruka ignored her and going. Not like Sayuri could blame Uruka for his dismissive coldness towards Naruto, but she could for what she heard him say about Itachi the other day. Uruka announced that they were to wait for their teachers. Did Sayuri really feel like doing that? Her teammates surely didn't. I'll give him 5 minutes, quipped Sakura after Ino's team got picked up. She still had the dead eyes, still not safe to engage. But she turned towards Sayuri and smiled something dangerous. Would you like to go shopping together, Seiyu-chan, for ninja supplies? It was hard to see her as someone dangerous, She acted so friendly. But Sayuri knew, underneath that sweet and bubbly exterior, hid a foe capable of harming others without a second thought. And she had, had deserved it. She doesn't need any, 'cause she's got the entire Uchiha repository to pick weapons and stuff from. The blonde saved her from answering, while lost in her musings. Mean. Naruto was fiddling with a rope trip she had set up at the door. Ah, I suppose you would. Oh, and Naru, how exactly are we supposed to leave? Oh, I don't know, use the windows. Anyways, I'm out, have fun. She burst into a cloud of smoke. Well, it would not do to meet sensei like this, she wiped imaginary dust from her blouse. So, I will simply come back another time. Sakura grabbed Naruto's dropped bag, which had good quality rope at least, probably stolen though, and she opened the window. Sayuri cursed the blonde for forcing her to help Sakura to escape from the academy. Once they dropped down outside, they were greeted by the sight of the Hokage mountain covered in tons of graffiti paint. It's a shame, really, for such skills to be overlooked, Sakura said serenely. Sayuri wasn't sure why she was left alone with Sakura, but this was a different Sakura, a Sakura she didn't know how to deal with. Not that she knew how to deal with any. She rushed away towards her apartment, contemplating why she didn't follow her brother into the Naka River. Naru savored her ramen as the memories floated in. Nice work up there. How long do you think it will take for them to clean it up? Toichi set down another bowl in front of her. To clean. Only like an hour or 2, but for them to start. Who knows? I think Hokage Gigi is getting old with how long he'll take to even do something about it, Naru cocked head back and laughed. Also, can I get tomato soup to go, Titiibeo? Well, really he was probably dealing with all the other incidents Naru had set into motion for the day, but what's a little attention to the inefficiency of a military dictatorship? Coming right up. And what do you think of your teammates? Sakura-chan is smart, so she'll be nice to have and maybe we can be friends. Seiyu-chan I know how to deal with and she knows how to deal with me, so overall, it'll be fun. And our sensei. Ah crap, none of us met our sensei and Aruka didn't announce who it was. Lemme send a clone out, Titiibeo. She made a clone, hanged it like Aruka and sent it out towards the academy. Unfortunately, right then, Aruka popped his head into the stall and sat down beside Naru. May. Didn't see. So Uzumaki, where'd you learn a kinjutsu like that, if that's what I think it was? Aw crap, of course he saw. Play it cool, play it cool. Hi. Sensei. What do you mean, what's a kinjutsu? The shadow clone I just saw jumping by, hanged as me, he deadpanned. And don't bother lying, it makes sense now how you're able to get away with all these pranks. Where'd you learn such a dangerous technique? After all, the shadow clone was dangerous for even Junin level nin to attempt. If Aruka learned how early she learned the technique. Come on sensei, don't you know, ninja aren't supposed to give away their secrets. Oh wait, maybe she could use this as an opportunity to swindle him. Boot. Sink. You're so kind as to pay for my ramen, I guess I can tell you sensei. Hook. What brat, who said I'm paying? Line. Shish. It's a really awesome story you don't want to miss any details of. As for where I learned it from, it was, 'cause of Mizuki sensei. And Sinker. The one that went missing 5 years ago. Aruka looked incredulous. Well, he and Mizuki had been close friends before his seemingly sudden disappearance. Yeah, he asked me to do him a favor and it was to bring him something that had the jutsu in it. Aruka was silent and she couldn't read his emotions, maybe he didn't understand. So then did he teach you it? Aruka asked slowly, as if choosing his words carefully. But even he was only a chunin so, he muttered under his breath. As if Mizuki was a capable chunin, let alone a capable teacher. But it's not like many could go up against her Ba-chan in most aspects. Oh no, it was a missing nin, though technically she wasn't one yet. She said not to mention her name, but that didn't mean she couldn't describe her. She taught me it, and then she messed up Mizuki-sensei pretty badly. It was actually Naru herself, but she didn't need her sensei to realize his friend lost to a 6-year-old academy student. If it was 100 versus 1. Apparently, he was a traitor trying to steal village secrets. I saw neither of them ever again though. Awesome story. Hopefully Aruka thought it was. Anbu didn't think so, but Ankone said that the people in there were grouches and that the fun people were in tea. Aruka's normally tan skin looked kinda pale. She could sense fear and despair coming off of him. Aruka was one of the teachers who tried to avoid her the most throughout academy years, though not as much this last year. Maybe it was coming back. Oh no, sensei, are you feeling alright? I get it. It's okay if you have the Naru sickness that the civilians say their kids will get from being around me too much, Naru tease. Was time to get out. Aruka's emotions were overwhelming her. I know my awesomeness is just too much for some people. But, thanks for paying for my ramen, you're the Siya Toichi Gigi. Now for her escape act, since her second academy clone was nearby. Like clockwork, Naru burst into a cloud of smoke. Tuki noticed that the tomato soup was also gone. He never could tell the difference between the replacement juts. Smoke and clone smoke. Meanwhile, Aruka was trying to swallow the thought that his childhood friend was a traitor after hearing nothing about him for 5 years. Surely, Uzumaki was lying. Yo, Kakashi walked into the stall. I went to pick up my students and they weren't there, and they left me a nice rope trip that could have hurt a poor, unsuspecting chunin. Now I'm here to lament another failing of a team of genin. Shut up, Hitaki. I'm trying to process some earth-shattering news here. Aruka banged his head against the table. Oh, what's up? Did you finally realize no woman will ever find you desirable? He teased Aruka. Totoichi, give me the usual, Tuki. Will you? Wait, you were Anbu, so you should be able to tell me. Yeah, but you really shouldn't be saying that out loud. Did they ever find Mizuki's body? The sensei that went missing 5 years ago, it was around the time of the massacre, so news about him was drowned out. Ahem, Mizuki, Kakashi drawled. Then, his one visible eye widened in realization as he remembered the finding of the silver-haired man's corpse and the seal T found on his tongue. It was not pretty to say the least. Ah well they did, but I can't tell you anything more, as it's classified. And he couldn't physically say it, even if he wanted to. Uruka's heart dropped. Can you at least tell me if he was a traitor? One of my students claimed he was trying to steal something from the Hokage and was messed up by a missing nin. But there's just no way. Kakashi pondered how he would answer this. Well, that's certainly a plausible explanation. He was near unrecognizable when we found him. But I can't really say anything sure about what he did or didn't do. Uzumaki said it was a she, and there's only one rogue kunoichi. Ah, Uzumaki was the one who told you. Well, it makes sense she'd be involved then. That woman was the one to take care of Uzumaki as an infant. Interesting. Also, interesting how she knew about the missing nin declaration when that was never publicly made about said kunoichi. Kakashi I smiled at him. Interesting. I just found out what happened to my best friend after no news for years, and it turns out one of my students knew the whole time and was involved. Not to mention, it's implied he a deranged med nin. Well, Uzumaki sounds like an interesting student, with the type of things she gets up to. She wouldn't happen to be one of the students that I was supposed to meet Toda. Chuki set down Kakashi's bowl and he slurped up half of it in a split second. Then he propped his elbow on the table, placed his chin in his hand, and turned to Uruka, with signature eye smile, trying not to look too interested in learning about his sensei's child. Your team, Uruka said slowly, then his eyes widened in realization. Oh yeah, I don't envy you, saddled with 3 kunoichi, especially those 3, he cringed. And I do. Hokage-sama will let you fail them, Uruka chuckled at Kakashi's expense. No, he pretty much gave me the most politically charged team. However, none of them were even there when I went, Kakashi sighed. Uruka gave him a look of sympathy. Well, as thanks for telling me about Mizuki, I can go over their files with you and give you some advice on how to deal with each of th. Was only fair he threw Hitaki a bone, considering the hell he went through dealing with those kids, and he rather not have to see them again at the academy. Sure. Why not? And then Kakashi slurped the last half of his ramen. Uruka would never get used to that. How did he do that so quickly? After clearing the table, Uruka got out 3 folders. While we're on the subject of her, Uruka opened up the thickest of the 3 folders. Name: Uzumaki Naruto. Age: 12 years. Criminal record: 60 counts of graffiti and vandalism, 20 counts of petty theft, 10 charges of assault and battery, 5 counts of robbery, warnings for loitering, indecent expo. Tampering with evidence, attempting to breach restricted areas, interacting with dangerous chemicals, see notes below, truancy and breaking curfew. Academic notes. Lowest ranking student, above average taijutsu with untrained, brawler form, below average in most other fields, requires repetition in theoretical concept. Struggles with book learning. Proficient in stealth and traps making. Large chakra reserves, but little to no control, sometimes accidentally letting it flood out undeterred. Special notes. Orphan since birth, does not respond well to authority, prefers to be called Naruto or Uzumaki, prone to outbursts that may or may not result in the destruction of property or cause harm to others, obsession of ramen, resentment of Konoha unknown, tendency to take actions against others she doesn't agree with. Well, surely this is embellished. I mean, we don't even have a police force anymore, Kakashi sweat dropped. Ah, well, you see, this is a combination of the charges from the KMPF, as well as the new civilian police force that has taken over civilian matters, but most of these are fro. Civilian side of things, considering their dislike of her, Uruka helpfully supplied. The civilian parents had a really big uproar about the hair loss prank incident, and it was a headache for the academy teachers to deal with. Also, who else do you think was responsible for the view we have today? Somehow, she managed to get to the teachers today as well, though we couldn't prove it. Sensei's kid has a lotta issues with self-control, huh, thought Kakashi, dreadfully. It also didn't help who took her in after a certain crazy med nin went rogue, but still, it bode well for a village to have a shinobi who couldn't be controlled, let alone a Jinchuriki. How did she pass? She scraped by with a just barely passing score on everything. Though, I realize now she must have used shadow clones instead of the regular clone jutsu. She mastered shadow clones already, before even becoming a genin. Well, Kakashi let out a breath, dismissing the Uzumaki from his mind. Surely the other two are fine, right? Kakashi pleaded. One was Itachi's sister and one was a civile. Long as Uchiha didn't go crazy like his kohai and the civilian was a normal girl. Iruka hesitated. They have potential. They all do. Even Uzumaki. But I have to admit, the other two can be a handful, especially considering a team setting. I feel like this either is set up to be legendary or a dumpster fire. Iruka set out the next file. Name. Uchiha Sayuri. Age. 12. No criminal record. Academic notes. Number 1 student in all subjects except theoretical concepts. Proficient in Uchiha Taijutsu, and shows proficiency in elemental ninjutsu. Lowest ranked in communication. Special notes. Orphaned since age 8, severe lack of cooperation, occasional refusal to heed authority, resistance to communication of nearly all classmates except Uzumaki. Detected moderate resentment of Konoha, sensitive about massacre, heavily unmotivated. You knew Itachi in Anbu, right? I wouldn't let her know that detail or she'll make your life hell. You will also have to earn her respect, so feel free to be a little forceful wit. Otherwise, I'd say she'd be the easiest. She always completed assignments with brutal efficiency. Easiest. What about the last one? Kakashi was surprised that the Uchiha who resisted communication could be considered the easiest. That didn't bode well for the last. Well, she's a sweet kid, but I wonder if she'll be able to make it as a ninja. Here I'll show what I mean. Iruka sighed and took out the last file. Name. Haruno Sakura. Age. 12. Criminal records redacted. Redacted. What the hell? Kakashi sputtered. And this was the civilian one. I can tell you about it. There was an incident a few years back. A group of the students was bullying Haruno-san, and she usually just took it. However, one time she cracked. And by the time we got her off the student, she scratched their eyes out with her nails. Keep reading. She permanently maimed a student. Even Uzumaki hadn't done that. This kept getting worse and worse. Academic notes. Number 2 overall, beating out Uchiha in theoretical knowledge, average taijutsu, above average ninjutsu, adaptive to genjutsu, and has near prodigal cha. Control. Special notes. Has undergone a year of light therapy with Yamanaka Inoichi, a kind girl who works well with others, has a high tolerance against being provoked, despite behavior, prone to dissociation, no resentment towards Konoha. Prodigal chakra control. Kurenai may have taken Itachi's place as the resident genjutsu expert, but Konoha could still use a replacement for Tsunade. And this one unlikely to go on a psychotic break. Kakashi groaned. Are you sure this one isn't the easiest? Guess I'll go dig up what I can on Haruno then. There's gotta be something I can access. Haha. Even if you did look, you wouldn't find it. 'Cause it doesn't exist, officially, came a light-hearted voice behind them. But never fear, Anko-chan has arrived with the wreck. The purple-haired woman crowed, the scent of blood still strong on her. Anko, seriously? Did you just come back from a mission? Couldn't you be bothered to get cleaned up first? Kakashi drawled, unimpressed. But there was no one at the mission desk. 'Cause everyone's too busy cleaning up the monument and headquarters. But anyways, Kakashi, Anko whined. He was in the mood to deal with her antics. This is really juicy stuff not even Hokage-sama has seen. And really, you should be nicer to me. I live with one of your new charges, why? Think of all the secrets I can spill, she yapped cheerfully and clasped her hands. Then she slammed a police report between him and Iruka. Officer in charge. Uchiha Shisui. Crime. Double homicide. Status of victims. Civilian. Status of perpetrators. Haruno, civilian. Uzumaki, civilian. Report. Two drunken civilians approached Uzumaki in an alleyway near the red light district, at around 2 a.m. and proceeded to grievously assault him, breaking alcohol bought over his head. Haruno saw this and grabbed a knife and stabbed both of them, killing one instantly. The second man, when he attacked Haruno, brutally had his neck bit by Uzumaki. This was when I arrived at the scene. Special notes. Fugaku, I'd put this in that drawer. Uzumaki healed without a scar and Haruno didn't have a single sign of injury either. Haruno had also dissociated to the P. Having no memory of this incident, and it wouldn't do to possibly have her regain those memories by forcing a trial that would be high profile due to the presence of the Jinchuriki. Besides, I disposed of the bodies already and they had no family to speak of, having all died from the Kyuubi attack. It was dated 6 years ago. Iruka was appalled, Kakashi groaned, and Anko snickered. Kakashi didn't know whether to be enraged at the fact the Anbu didn't do their job of watching over Naru, the fact that 2 children were out that late, or the fact that Shish would cover this up and tell Anko apparently, but not him. Especially since an incident like this, where Naru undoubtedly released Kyuubi chakra, was already cause for concern. I think they'll make great ninjas. It's not every day you have a team of kids who have already seen death at its door. If they can handle that, they can handle the Shinobi W. Just fine. Anko laughed with mirth, unbothered. Then again, why would she, considering those who she had grown up with had all gone crazy in one way or another? Naru. Extensive criminal record made sense now, when you realized Anko was her only anchor in stability. They're not even genin yet, they're still children and all of them need to go through psych. What an oversight, Iruka lamented with sympathy, but by the relaxing of his shoulders, more than happy to wash his hands of them. Oh please, Yumino. Don't act like you care, and besides, what would a paper ninja like you understand? If you did, you would have reached out to the 2 children who were like you, or listened to the civilian girl who was being viciously bullied. But no, you just sit there with your comfy job as the Sandame's paper pusher and judge innocent. For being forced to not be innocent, Anko rasped blithely. And Kakashi, hopefully I can trust you to do your job correctly. You of all people should be able to understand th. She snatched the report and body flickered away. Just what the fuck had the Hokage saddled him with? Sayuri was on her way home, when a familiar blonde had dropped in front of her, who then got down on one knee, holding out a bowl to her. Behold, my latest offering to Madam. Was that tomato soup? Wait a sec, she scowled, throwing out a kunai. What the hell is your problem? She said a little more harshly than intended. But really, who could blame her for being caught off guard? Naruto got up. Geez, don't shoot the messenger. I'm just trying to make nice with my teammates after all, she said cheekily. Well, Sayuri could get used to free food, she supposed, but she still wasn't used to dealing with genuine kindness. If you insist, and took the offered soup. So did you, ha? Anything important to inform me? Kami-sama, you could afford to loosen up a bit. Naruto huffed and fell into step with her. I did find out who our sensei is. Surely you wanna know that. Naru was relaxed. Hands clasped behind her neck. Unfortunately, she did need to know who their sensei was, considering they all left without meeting him or her. She nodded. So my clone happened to be passing by Ichiraku, so I switched out and waited outside, since I just dropped a bombshell on Iruka and wanted to hear his reaction anyway. Shinobi with a mask and covered eye walks in and complains how none of us were there. Iruka called him Hitaki, said he was in Anbu. You know who that is? Sayuri carefully didn't let anything show on her face. Yeah, the last Hitaki, Kakashi of the Sharingan, she said neutrally. Naruto still picked up on her mood. Ah, he must have known your brother. Iruka advised him not to let you know that he knew him, but too late for that, huh? Oh yeah, Irik. Over our files with him. Called you the easiest actually. She scowled. She wasn't some pet to be talked about in terms of difficulty to tame. When Iruka talked about Sakura's incident with Amy, the look on Kakashi-sensei's face was so funny. Though he didn't seem to think much of me, I don't know what to. Of that. He doesn't even know me and he's probably written me off as a disappointment, Naru continued blabbering, but Seiyu was lost in her thoughts. She wished she ha. Itachi still to open up to quell all her worries. Oh yeah. Naruto's voice lanced into her thoughts. Did you know they apparently measure our loyalty to Konoha in our files, like actually? How do you even measure the Anbu listen to us and write down if we ever say anything negative about the village, like, don't they have anything better to do? Naruto huffed. I doubt it's anything that conspicuous. But they probably have ways of ensuring the population is placated, so that they can catch wind of anyone planning to challenge authority, she carefully commented, paranoid now that they might be watched. Not to mention, we're very important assets, politically and militarily. Ugh. But that's just so fucking stupid. Isn't the point of Hokage to keep the citizens safe and happy? What's the point of using power not to help, but to force the people? Why? Follow under your heel. I just you. Naru shook her head and then declared, when I'm actually Hokage, everyone will be safe so that they don't feel the need to rue. Or take drastic measures to feel safe. She drifted off, the despondent look of loss in her eyes that Sayuri was all too familiar with. Seiyu didn't respond. Because what could she say? My dream is to end all wars. And to do that, I need to be the strongest, Imo Udo. You want to end war by using power to force everyone to stop fighting. But, that's stupid, Nisan. No one likes being forced into anything. And then they'll try to get strong enough to beat you. That's not what I want to do, but I need to be strong enough for people to listen to me. Strong enough that I can incapacitate my opponents without killing them, so that. But people fear things they don't understand as well as people with strength, and he was both, so they turned against him, blaming him for every ill that had befallen the sea. And then he self-destructed in retaliation. And would you look at that, now she had no clan and no one remembered Itachi Uchiha fondly. The civilians already feared Naruto, for some reason. But Sayuri really didn't have the heart to discourage her with what power, Dobi? Don't forget what he told you, none of this matters because the rot is too deep for redemption. Kill off your emotions and focus on staying alive. She sighed, her reasons and motivations dead like the air she expelled. He was gone. She only had herself now. Staying alive would require at least working with her team. She turned to the blonde still walking silently by her side. Thanks Naruto, for the soup and information, she said unsure, trying out the words. Wasn't the last time she said thanks, it was for Dango with her brother. Let me know. You find anything else out. I'm going this way. She stalked off towards her apartment, walking headfirst into memories that she drowned with him, that still threatened to her. Alright, it was nice talking to you. Naruto turned towards the red light district awkwardly. She may or may not have smirked at Naru being caught off guard by her sudden departure. Payback for earlier. Fuck, I'm so fucked. Naru rushed home, knowing she hadn't cleaned at all since Ankone last left for her mission. I hope she goes drinking with Kakashi and the Junin-sans or something. Meanwhile, she was busy spouting off dreams and aspirations to Seiyu, who didn't even care enough to call her stupid because she looked like she lost the will to live years. Naru jumped up to the third floor they had shared for years and fumbled with the keys before crashing inside. What's up, lil brat? Crowed the woman, the snake, the demon. Her Ankone, safe and sound. And Naru jumped into her arms. Ankone, I missed you so much, you're choking me. Anko had a vice grip on her, she couldn't escape. Yeah brat. 'Cause you forgot to clean again, didn't you? There's not enough room for two unsanitary girls here. God, Anko signed into her. I missed you, cutie . You get off. You're getting your mission muck on me, Naru whined. Well, I would have cleaned up, but I wasn't able to turn my mission report in for a long ass time. 'Cause you done fucked up the headquarters. What the fuck? Anko was now wrestling with Naru. Oh yeah. Did you like all my pranks? I did it as a prize for myself for graduating, but it's also my welcome back gift for you too, Ankone. Naru said emphatical. God, you're so embarrassing. Why couldn't you have done purple instead of pink? Anko had her pinned down now. Who the fuck puts pink with orange? Nobody. That's W. Disappointed in you, brat. Yeah, you love it so much, anyways gimme dango. Bitch, get some yourself, she retorted and then proceeded to try to stab a stick full of dango in Naru's mouth, causing her to almost choke on it. Oh. Anyways, guess who's got a present for you for becoming genin because Kakashi's ass is not failing you. Anko moved off of her and went into the bedroom. What? Anko, oh, you didn't have to, Naru cried, but really she was secretly touched. I know, I'm just the best Nae-san ever. Here ya go, she said cheerily. You're gonna be so shocked. She then set down a wrapped package in front of Naru. Naru's interest was piqued. What could possibly have her shocked? She tore open the package and no fucking way. I thought, how did you? She swallowed. Took a breath. How did you get this? I thought it was lost with him after that night. Anko shrugged. He gave it to me right before. I had no idea what he was gonna do. By the way, before you ask. I just didn't mention it, 'cause you had a big mouth and would have tried to take it, and no way was I gonna let that happen. It's yours, it was written for you after all, even if a sick bastard was the owner before it. Now, open it up. Already. In the package was a book. It looked ordinary from the outside, but she had seen it in this form a million times, years ago. Then she took it in her hands and the cover transformed. It was a book on Fuinjutsu. Written and compiled by Uzumaki Kushina and Uchiha Makoto. Uzumaki. Anko ne, is she, and then stopped. Anko's face was stricken, like she couldn't open her mouth. Just open the book, brat, she managed to grit out. On the inside cover were 3 names written in blood, under the heading, Users. Uzumaki. Kushina. Uchiha Makoto. Uchiha Itachi. Why was his name struck out? Looks like this book requires a blood sacrifice to be used, like a sealing contract, wow. They put a lot of thought into it and sealing is still whack as fuck. Here, an Anko H. Hurakanai. Does it matter what name I put? She hesitated. I dunno, but I'm pretty sure they have some way of making sure only the people allowed can sign onto the book. It probably doesn't matter. In the next free line, Naru wrote, Uzumaki Naruto. The book glowed and then her name solidified on the page. On the second page, a table of contents appeared, but with page numbers. What? Ooh, spooky. Oh, so that's how he found whatever he needed at any time. He just picked the subject he wanted. Pretty neat. I wish real books did that. Naru closed the book and hugged it to her chest. Something made by her own family. She didn't know the other Uzumaki, but she remembered Miko Oba, her kindness and warm meals. Tilda. It was made together by my mother and her best friend, a voice she had almost forgotten. Tilda. And then she forgot and shook her head out. She breathed in the smell of the pages. Knowledge left for her, and Anko had kept it safe. Thank you so much, Anko ne. Of course, Naru-chan. Sakura woke up and was immediately annoyed. She realized the last thing she remembered was Ino being hit by a tomato and zoning out before finding out who her teammates were. Oh, you're awake now. Oh, and Inner was awake too. Shut up. What happened after the bell rang yesterday? She tells me to shut up and then asks me something, humph typical. Inner. Her other self. Sakura doesn't know how long she's had Inner for. She's already had missing pieces of memory as far back as she can remember, coming to randomly in a different enviro. After seemingly zoning out, hell, she didn't even remember anything clearly before starting the academy. She knows missing memories of her life isn't normal, but it's not like anyone would have known because she demonstrated an eidetic memory in classes. Sakura was a girl that would have faded easily into the background under normal circumstances, until Ino had plucked her from the ground and tried to cultivate her like a flow. She learned a bit from Ino, considering how navigating girls was like a minefield. She learned how to attract the attention of people when she talked and then fade back and content with that. As much as she wanted to be in the spotlight, Inner wanted to be invisible and avoid danger, and she wasn't wrong to. Inner said she'd been around for a while, but the first time she heard her was when she started attracting attention from Amy and her group and they started picking out th about her and started bullying her with it, and Ino had left her out to dry. It was stupid really, like she couldn't control her forehead and pink hair, and it was plain obvious. We're jealous at Sakura's success in the class rankings. She didn't want to admit Inner was right, let alone real. The time she decided Inner was real, was when she, or really, Inner in control attacked Amy and blinded her. I'll always be with you, to be there for you, and to protect us, she had said. And now Sakura was a girl that always had eyes on her, that Ino wanted to compete against as a fellow ninja. But no one knew that it was Inner. Sometimes she'll feel in when she wakes up or is about to zone out, but other than that incident, she's never been able to watch when Inner is in action. However, she watches her, and always advise her. But missing memories aren't something so easily walked off, so Sakura has come up with a very simple solution for this: keeping a diary and planner. The main difficulty is obviously trying to keep anyone from snooping in it, parents and classmates, since she has to take it everywhere with her. Luckily again, Ino had taught some simple ciphers before they stopped being friends. Anyways, Sakura got up and checked her diary to see what Inner had left for her. Teammates are Naru and Seiyu. We didn't meet our sensei see we all dipped. Parents came by and said that our sensei is Kakashi Hatake. They said to meet TMR at TG13 at 6 AM and not to eat breakfast. So I ate extra chicken for dinner. Theoretically, a diary is a good idea, if enough detail was put into it. Inner though, was a bit of a minimalist, so only the bare minimum was written, and so she knew nothing about the other teams. And since Inner does what she wants, usually claiming it is what's best for them, and she can't really control what Inner does, Inner usually ends screwing up with her plans, such as her diet, for example. Luckily, she seems asleep for now, so she won't have to hear a lecture on how they need more food to be a ninja. Men won't notice her like that, according to what the oath say, but she didn't have to listen to them to fit in anymore, did she? She checked the time. It was 5:30, so she wouldn't have time to shower either. At least she was used to skipping breakfast, so she'd have time to, at least, finger comb he out. She didn't have time to even mentally process her team. Why were there 3 kunoichi on one team, and how was she going to deal with Naru and Seiyu? Inner was the only one who kept trying to engage Sayuri, even after all the girls had given up trying to be nice. She was talented, pretty and came from a main clan, so Ev was polite to Sayuri, even the girls, trying to extend some kindness after some terrible incident with her whole family dying apparently. They didn't really discuss the spec around the kids, and even Ino was only able to get that much. Inner was always saying their reaching out to Sayuri was so plastic and not genuine, and that's why she never reciprocated, but at least they tried. Meanwhile Sayuri just snapped at everyone, especially when they expressed relief at the perpetrator being declared dead. At least she talented, so she'd be easier to work with. And then Naruto. Apparently she doesn't like being called that, but most of the girls didn't care, saying that you don't just get to choose your own nicknames. Inner said S would be a good ally or even friend to have and was always polite to her, but her parents and all her other friends said to stay away from her. And frankly, most would rather be associated with a troublemaker like her who seemed content to make an enemy out of anyone for the smallest slight. Some might say Sakura lacked survival instincts because she always felt the urge to try to challenge her. She'd never say it, but, in a weird way she admired how Naru could appear and command the attention of everyone. Chakra was thick and suffocating, a dominating presence in the room. Inner likened her challenges to how one would poke a stick into the bee's hive, to get the bees out, could approach the honeycombs and scour for honey. Sometimes, she got stung, like yesterday, but they said great ninjas have many scars. All that to say, for all her and Inner had different ways of approaching people and problems and different personalities, they were a team and they worked together and Sure, when it came down to serious issues, Inner took over and handled it. But one day, Sakura wanted to be able to do that for them as well. For all that they're a team though, maybe she should have at least listened a little bit because she doesn't know how she's going to approach dealing with the two other peep. Outside of her, she arrived at the training ground, and she was the first one there. That's just fine. She picked a tree to sit against and pulled out a book about different specializations for Kunoichi to read. Not like Sakura knew what she wanted to do yet. In the academy, they said her chakra control was excellent and recommended either being medical nin or a genjutsu Ms. Being a civvy, she didn't know much of what the fields entailed or even famous nin in those fields. When she started the academy, almost every girl said they wanted to be L. Tsunade-sama, but the way her name was whispered was different between even the civis and clan kids. Among the civilians, Tsunade was like a folklore hero, spoken of as a goddess in ages long forgotten, with tales in the fantastical of being able to heal any illness or how, strength of 1,000 men, she single-handedly ended the Third Great War. Most whispers ended with pursed lips, and pitiful sighs, but one had continued, "It's a shame how th. mighty fall." But, not a word from the clan kids. In fact, even among the academy teachers, in between the factual lessons that spoke of feats as one would list their skills on job applic. Her name was like a long-dead god that you didn't want to speak the name of and accidentally incur the wrath of. So no, she didn't know any famous nin she wanted to be her role model, though she was very intrigued by what could have caused the sudden lack of news about Tsunade. Never said she died, but if she was still in service, she would be lauded as a hero in the streets. So she was stuck with retreating to books to find enthralling tales of Kuno. Except there weren't. If anything, Kunoichi and powerful never went into the same sentence. Forget about illustrious tales, the medical career was described as something risk-free, and a still fulfilling line of work, for civilians like her who knew nothing of the horrors of ninja life. And popular it was among them, unironically thanks to Tsunade. Push for more. Medical training. On the other hand, genjutsu specialists were also pretty popular career for Kunoichi, allowing them to take more passive, background positions to weave their illusions. They required a more creative and artistic mind, which Sakura couldn't say she really had. Inner very much made fun of her lack of skills in the Kunoichi classes when it's ca. Ikebana and makeup, but what would a made-up mind spirit know? Something that attracted genjutsu more to Sakura was that she could still be on the field, in the action. Usually on squads specializing in sabotage and subterfuge, rather than on the front lines, but still better than remaining behind like Med Nin. Sakura wanted to be a hero. Named to strike terror in the hearts of her enemies and hope in her allies. Sakura heard the lightest crunching of leaves of someone approaching. She didn't deign to raise her head, instead opting to peer out from beneath her eyelashes, which helped to limit the exposure to her eyes from the bleary sunrise. Dark eyes glanced lackadaisical down at her. How silly to restrict yourself to Kunoichi professions just because you're a girl, she said boredly, walking past her to another tree and dropping down her equipment. It doesn't hurt to see what's out there, as well as understand the different skill sets you might have to work with or even worse, face off against, she retorted back. The was now really rising, a fiery orange storm on the horizon. Maybe so, but you could only get others' preconceived ideas from books. If you want to make a name for yourself, you should do as you please, instead of restricting you. Fit into societal constructs of what is fitting for you. The raven head sneered though it wasn't at her and was now pulling out her kunai and shuriken, preparing to sharpen. Sakura shrugged her shoulders, at the unexpected encouragement of her usually cold teammate, and then decided to use the calm sea of opportunity to ask her something relevant to her recent thoughts. What do you think of Tsunade-sama? And then her teammate smirked, seemingly pleased at the inquiry. I don't know how the civilians talk of her, but she's definitely someone who deserves her recognition, as a kunoichi, but as a ninja. However, just like a ninja would, she's lived long enough to lose the pieces of herself, forget what she even dreamed of, and know how to keep going. It really reminds you that everyone is human, and at any point you can fall from grace into the depths of insanity. Sakura hesitated, almost scared of the answer. What happened to her? She was answered not by the Ravenet, but a new arrival she hadn't even sensed any sign of. She had left the village with her fiancé's niece, 'cause she was tired of war and fighting. That and both her teammates had left the village, but they tried to say she did terrible things and called her a missing nin, like they wouldn't welcome her back if walked back in. The blonde sneered as dropped into the clearing with 2 containers of takeout. Sakura opened her mouth with questioning, but she was cut off by Sayuri. Ah, so that's why you can't find any books written by Tsunade or her apprentice, Shizune. And Naruto finished for her. Yep. They've been banned and trying to obtain one will land you in tea faster than clicking your tongue. Sakura swallowed. Well, there went her peaceful reading and mental preparation. Her teammates were here and had given her a lot to ponder. Anyways, shut up Seiyu. It's too early to be yapping this loud and being all serious. Naruto swaggered in the clearing, yawning, bleary eyes and all. HN, it's only 7:45, you and our sensei are late, Sayuri retorted back, but she was curiously eyeing one of the containers. Ma, the earliest he'll come is like 8 o'clock since his thing is to be late by 2 hours, but I have it on good authority he'll come at 10 as revenge for ditching him yester. Eat up. I had my fill. She grinned cheekily and held up a container of ramen to Sakura's face. We weren't supposed to have breakfast, Baka. Sakura wrinkled her face at her, more out of nervousness at her undetected entrance. She steadily ignored the gnawing in stomach and pangs of her headache. This is where Sakura would have expected a reaction from the blonde, as the blonde had never gone as far as to pull an elaborate prank on her, but instead she smiled at her. Same and set down the container next to her. Eat it or don't, it doesn't matter to me, but Tsukijiji would cry at the waste of food so do it for him, and then the blonde passed her, towards their third teammate. The raven head raised her hand, and made to refuse it, but then she smelled the container, sat back down and begrudgingly accepted it, but with a scowl on her face all same. Anyways, Imago set up some traps all over the forest as a welcoming gift for our new sensei, said so cheerfully. Sakura wondered if she was actually hearing the venom underlining the blonde's voice or if she was feeling the undercurrent of her chakra leaking out again. Then she marched off, blonde pigtails flowing behind her without a care. World. Sakura knuckles were white, the pages of the book creasing, with how tightly she was gripping them. She hadn't realized when it was that she was able to breathe again. Sayuri hummed, savoring her soup. Sensei won't know what hit him. She seems to be on a warpath today. I'd advise you to try to stay out of it. And while some might say Sakura was enough of a teacher's pet to discourage others' misbehavior, really, why would Sakura try to distract the blonde from her newfound V? So, with Naru looking more and more right as time inched closer to 8, Sakura put her book away and absent-mindedly ate up her ramen, including the extra meat. She begrudgingly enjoyed it. Kakashi really didn't know what the fuck to make of the supposed 3 she-demons because that was what they were, at first glance. It was simply really, wake up at 6, stare at the memorial for 4 hours, 1 hour for each member of Team Minato and Kashinane, show up at 10, and then scare them. Little with the bell test. He shushined into the clearing and almost got impaled by a shuriken. Yeah. No, it's not possible to hit the shuriken from behind like that because none of the angles will line up. You have to cheat, maybe with a shunshin or something, mused. A girl who could be a dead ringer for Makoto scowled and growled out, but I saw Nisan do it. Are you saying he lied? Her expression was stricken and wow, did the hero worship run deep? Then they both turned to him and Pinky smiled uncannily. Sensei. Good morning, isn't the sun beautiful today? She grinned and oh no. You missed out, Sensei, the sunrise was really beautiful this morning. Really drums in the meaning of the will of fire and reminds us what we're all fighting for, was said. Monotone by the Makoto clone, with a hand of her heart as if in fealty. And, oh no, did they somehow overhear when Iruka was discussing reports with them? And where was the last Terroraville Deathkiller? Twisted chakra flashed off the blonde, as she sprinted into the clearing, only for a split second, that he didn't know if he had felt it or not. Uchiha was unreadable, but the pinky was paler than before, so he hadn't imagined that. So, what are we doing today, Titiibeo? The blonde plopped onto the ground and grinned Kushina's smile. If Kakashi wasn't a highly trained Anbu, the memories would have threatened to overwhelm him. Then other two girls sat down by her, and the smile dropped off her face as she cocked her head at him questioningly, not unlike Minato used to. Focus, Hound. Don't just assign them as the clones of your loved ones. So, we were supposed to meet yesterday. He paused to see if they would reveal any guilt on their faces. Does anyone have an explanation? Pinky started with quivering lips and shuffled feet. Well, sensei, I live in a really bad part of town and it was getting really dark. It would have been dangerous for a poor bar. Genin like me to navigate. Ka-san could have been worried and she needs my help a lot more nowadays ever since Tu-san, she sniffed. Well fuck. Kakashi felt his heart crack a little. Uchiha didn't deign to answer at first, until Uzumaki needled her side with a finger and so, she huffed out a sigh. I needed to pay my respects at the shrine and as well for all my late family, for becoming Genin. It took a while to clean up everything, she said tersely. And then Kakashi said goodbye to whatever remained of his heart as it crumbled to ash. He sighed. And you? To the Jinchuriki. ... She grinned. Well, you know, today was a very special day yesterday and so I just had to get home as soon as possible. Here she then overlaid her two hands on her chest. Hadn't seen Anko-ne in 3 months, she could have been dead. Sue, I had to rush home and get everything ready and I forgot to do the chores. Kakashi blinked. He wasn't paid enough to deal with this. With an awkward clap, he said, Ma, let's jump to introductions. We already know each other. Haven't you looked over our files? Boring. Kakashi gritted his teeth. Just do it. His pink-haired brat smiled up at him. Why don't you demonstrate for us how it's done, so that we can give you what you need? Kakashi then gave his vague spiel on, I'm Kakashi Hatake. I like some things, dislike others and don't feel like sharing my dreams or hobbies. Then he nodded at Sakura. Ahead. My name is Sakura Haruno, she began, simple enough. I love clothes and accessories and magical girls, she squealed. I dislike icky boys and perv men. My hobbies are to read and study and my dream is to be as infamous as Tsunade-sama. Well, at least she wasn't a fangirl. He sweat dropped. Did you mean famous? Kakashi deadpanned. Nope, infamous. I want to strike terror in the hearts of my enemies. Ah, so she was bloodthirsty. Kakashi could probably work with that, though Tsunade was a problema. Figure to idolize. Hopefully it won't turn her into a flight risk because there were already 2 on this team. He gestured for the Uchiha to go. She had a permanent scowl on her face. Sayuri Uchiha. I hate everything and anything bothersome, including living, but especially, perversion, idiocy, laziness, paranoia. Fools. My dream, here her permanent scowl actually dropped in favor of a forlorn look, is to carry on someone else's. Kakashi felt shitty as he realized that he didn't know what his former Kohai's dream was. Hopefully it wasn't anything that would bring harm to the leaf, considering how out. And also, he shoved his Ika further into his pocket. He turned towards the last one. He felt a bit of excitement and apprehension to hear about his sensei's kid, since he didn't really get the chance to watch the kid growing you. The blonde leaned back with her hands splayed on the grass and spoke. My name is Naruto or Naru Uzumaki. My greatest love is ramen. Dango is okay I guess. My great dislike is the 3 minutes I have to wait to cook cup ramen. My hobbies are to enact divine justice with my pranks and eat ramen. And my dream is to become Hokage, so can make everyone happy. Her face stretched out in a foxy grin. Make everyone happy. Huh. That would be something like what Sensei and Kushina's kid would want. Normal enough and yet, what was that heavy chakra? Overall, this team didn't seem like it was straight out of hell like their files suggested. If anything, they would probably make for a decent team, since they were all Motiva. Some way. But Hound didn't care for decent. Alright, so hopefully none of y'all ate breakfast because we're going to be doing a survival exercise and you might throw up, Kakashi eyes smiled at them. What is it for? Sayuri narrowed her eyes at him. Well, you guys aren't my genin quite yet. So, I'm going to impose a test on y'all to see who I get to send back to the academy, Kakashi said jovially, hoping to psych Th out. He pulled out 2 bells and the alarm clock, which he had set for noon. The alarm is set for noon. You have until then to acquire a bell, or else you don't get lunch and get sent back to the academy. Use deadly force. Kakashi got 2 different reactions. The blonde exclaimed, "Woo, free lunch," and seemed unbothered by the missing bell. Sayuri and Sakura were both pensive, but only the latter opened her mouth to confirm. There's only 2 bells though, so one of us is getting sent back. Sayuri added, or us. However, she too then seemed indifferent to these turn of events. Naru stopped and looked at either girl. But, sensei, there's no way you expect a genin to be able to defeat an awesome. He didn't like the way she stressed that, Shino. Would she understand the true meaning of the test? He hummed, Ma, those are the rules, so figure it out. Anyways, we start when I say so. Once he gave the go-ahead, they scattered in a rush of leaves. In the back of mind, a small part rooted for these underestimated kunoichi to succeed.